I just wanted to quickly, since you mentioned it, Hitchens makes some sort of Christian argument for the death penalty, which I can't remember, which I wish I could, because the people say, how can you be a Christian and support the death penalty? But you're not a Christian, and I've tried unsuccessfully to try and get you to be one very badly, and it somehow ended up on Reddit. I don't know if you saw
has
that.
it?
Yeah.
How did that end up on Reddit?
Yeah. It was like, fake it till you make it to heaven, Carl. Basically, my argument... I mean, I had this rationalist argument. I thought it was rational, but you didn't think so. But it wasn't enough to beat you. But it was... I was saying to you that... Well, the way I came to it was... I was listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson, and he was sort of talking about, the archetypes and blah, 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 and, the Jungian substrate. And, yeah, that's all very well, and it's great. He sort of introduced a kind of meta-Christianity, which young people have been able to adopt and so on. And he's introduced sort of Christian ethics without the belief part, which people have stigmatized about, so they wouldn't embrace. It's quite clever, but that's also the flaw of what he's done, because then it's quite weak broth, isn't it, without the actual belief part. Then it hit me one day, what if we just decided to believe in it? Which people think is sort of like pretending you do, but I don't think it is pretending you do. I think it is just... I just maintain that's how it's always been. Now, it's a bit of... Hitchens says something similar. He says, would you rather live in a world where your actions have meaning and so on, or some random violent chaos? That's not quite my point, though it is a rationalist argument for it. My point is more that, actually, hasn't it always been our responsibility to uphold God rather than the other way around? If God just arrived and said, hey, I'm here, this is what you should do, there'd be no argument. It's always been up to us, in lieu of actual concrete evidence, to uphold God. And then the thing is, Carl, I can make subjective arguments, like I actually had a dream where I saw God and Jesus, but that sounds mental. Then I sound mental.
Hey man, look, I am more than willing to accept that it came to me in a dream argument from someone. Like I said, I'm a postmodern traditionalist.
Yeah, you're right.
If it came to you in a dream, who am I to criticize?
It did, and it was pretty profound. But I'll never be able to convey that. But I don't see what... So you said to me once, and I'm not going to beat you in argument because you do it for a living, but you said to me once, or you said to people, I can't remember, why don't you have kids? Because you say it quite a lot, in fact, on Lotus Eaters. People should have kids. It's their responsibility. Some politicians don't have any investment in the future. So you're quite sort of bullish on the idea of having kids because it's the right thing to do for society. And I thought, well, why can't you then just believe in God, Carl? Because it's a lot easier. There's a lot less money involved. You don't have to find a wife. And it is, and you've admitted that it is better for society, and this would be better as a Christian country, and it is a Christian country. So therefore, why can't you just man up and do it?
Honestly, it's about authenticity and sincerity, right? Because I'm a product of the 80s and 90s, and I was raised without the need for religion, and so it's not a void in my life that I need to fill. Frankly, I never feel a spiritual emptiness with regards to religion, and I'm not saying that it's not a defect. I'm not saying that it's not something in which I'm deficient. I'm just saying it just isn't there for me.
Right. It might be that simple because... No, I was going to say, I was born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s, but we went to very religious schools because schools were then. It was only a Protestant school, C of E. And I always basically was vaguely Christian. Then for a while I sort of wasn't, but I was never called myself an atheist. Now you go a bit further, you actually do always call yourself an atheist. You don't say agnostic even.
Yeah, I mean, it's just true. I personally don't have any religious convictions. But I don't want to deny them in others, right? And like I've said before, my son's always like, I believe in God, and it's like, good son, that's good, and I totally support him in that. And we were in the car the other day, and he was like, Dad, are we Christians? And my daughter was like, no, we're not Christians. She's 13, he's 7. I was like, yes, we're Christians. And he was like, see, I told you. And I'm like, right, okay, So I'm more than willing to uphold it for him and her. And my wife's a Christian, she calls herself Christian. She's totally religious as well, really.
So that might have been you saying we're cultural Christians in a sense, then.
No, like as a family, we're a Christian family. I'm personally not a religious person, but really, I think an Englishman is a Christian. That's the thing. Like you can't get away from that. Like historically, traditionally, like what an Englishman is the religious aspect of it is a Christian aspect. It's also underpinned by like a kind of a legacy pagan morality that affects the Christian nature of the Englishman, but like that's a deep subject.
Yeah, it sounds vaguely blasphemous to me. I'm not sure about that.
Well, yeah, it does, but it's about how. But the Christianity in England is not the same as Christianity on the continent, which is why England's always been a bit of an aberration, actually, when it comes to Christianity. But the point is, I personally just don't. I would feel inauthentic and insincere if I would say, yes, I'm a Christian, I found God, oh, praise Jesus. I would feel inauthentic, and I don't want to feel inauthentic. I'd rather tell people the truth and then be like, look, I'm not hostile to Christianity. I don't want to undermine Christianity. In fact, I would like to bolster Christianity where I can see it needs help. But I'm personally not a Christian, and it's not for any lack of desire. For example, like the Christians have a very terrible habit of anthropomorphizing God. They make God into a person they expect to see. And it's like, no, this is how the atheist always beats you. Because they're like, well, where's God? It's like, well, look, the proper Christian theology behind it would be like, God is literally the entire universe. He is intrinsic to every atom of the universe. So anything you point to as an atheist is pointing at God. So God becomes like a kind of logical necessity that extends above the purely material realm that the atheist wants to drive you down into and beat you on like a lack of evidence. No, there's no point asking for evidence of God. That's such a stupid argument because it's a transcendental question. You know, in and of itself, the terms are wrong and you can never win on them. But the atheist can never defeat you on your terms, which is why they don't want to have the argument on those terms.
Right.
So I said this coming out of like the new atheist movement, right? You know, I'm familiar with all the arguments, and the atheists it's kind of dull when it comes to it. Like they don't really seem to get what the Christians have been saying, but that's probably because the Christians haven't been articulating themselves properly either. The Christians would be better to say, look, God is essentially the sort of sum total of all of the things in the universe and how they work. And so you know that if you eat too much food, you're going to get really fat. This is a natural force in the universe. And you can say, well, look, this is God's will to me to not eat so much food because the negative consequence was intrinsically inbuilt into the universe. That therefore becomes like a message from God. Right? A Christian can make that argument. Actually, that kind of makes sense because then you can see that there is an intentionality behind the universe as a whole for a human being. What C.S. Lewis would call the Tao of the universe.
Oh, yeah.
Like
And the evolution of
relative
man.
to what we are, the world itself is relative to us, and we have a place in it, and there is an intention that underlies it. But I know I'm going off on one, but like
No,
it's frustrating to see Christians not argue these points.
Well, and atheists get it. I mean, yeah, God is everything, but he is also a bloke. But when you talk about...
He's also English.
He's an English bloke, much like us. But when you talk about the atheists as well, they do get it wrong. I mean, Sam Harris said, look, we've been able to explore all of space now, and he's not there. It's like, Sam...
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
how is it?
Watch William Lane Craig against Christopher Hitchens if you think that the atheists always win, because Hitchens didn't win because he didn't have any of the arguments ready for the philosophical argument. So,
I haven't seen that one.
There's a couple of them
recently.
recently.
Yeah, you know, it's been many a decade since I'll have watched anything like that. But yeah, it is remarkable. I like Sam Harris, but like that, well, like we looked up into the sky and we couldn't see God. No kidding, Sam.